Hi, I'm Ben with Heirloom Roses. I'd like to take this opportunity to talk to you about the differences between grafted roses and OwnRoot roses. Roses are grown two different ways. Either they're grown OwnRoot, which is a cutting of a rose, and it's rooted and then grown into the plant, and the variety of the plant is the same in the roots as the top of the plant. So it's all one variety of plant. A grafted rose is a rootstock, which is a very vigorous growing type of rose. And then on the top of that is a graft or a budding of another variety onto that rootstock. And what that creates is this bud union here. And it's kind of a woody nodule here that sits above the ground typically. And the variety of plant that you purchased is on the top, but lying underneath that is the rootstock. And that aggressively growing rootstock will eventually overtake the plant. That's when you have a rose that should be white and then has a couple shoots coming up that are bright red. And it could be a short amount of time, but it eventually will overtake this plant because it's just a really aggressive growing plant. That's why they graft onto it. Another issue with grafted roses is the bud union here is susceptible to freeze damage. And if there's any damage to it, it can actually cause these canes to die, and you'll have less and less of a plant over time. Now, the difference here is that with OwnRoot roses, like this, as you can see, it's smaller. The canes are smaller, and the plant is smaller, and that's because it's a younger plant. This grafted rose is 2+ years old, grown in a field, and it's economical for growers to do that, but you're really contending with two different types of plants, and eventually you'll have a problem. These plants are grown in a container, and as you can see, the roots are really young and healthy. So when you plant this rose into your yard and get it in the ground, this plant will quickly catch up with this one, and within 2 to 3 years will surpass the size of this plant, or they'll at least be equal. But what you'll have is a much more full-bodied plant that is very disease resistant as well as frost resistant. So another benefit of OwnRoot roses is that you get basal break or canes growing from the roots on an OwnRoot plant, which are the same variety as the roots and the rest of the plant. So as you can see, this is a very tender shoot right here in the nursery, and it's growing up from the roots. This plant will continue to do that over time, and you'll actually get a more full-formed plant with many breaks coming up from the roots. Some call this suckering, although it's not really truly a sucker on a grafted plant. A sucker is not a good thing. It's the rootstock overtaking it. On an OwnRoot plant, the suckering or the basal break is really good. It's going to be a more full-figured plant and much healthier. So when I was young, I was mowing the lawn on a riding lawnmower, and I accidentally, well, I was young and dumb, and I mowed over one of my mom's roses. And that's an example of what can happen when you're growing roses, and things happen. The benefit of OwnRoot roses is if you actually destroy the top of this plant, it will regrow from the roots the same as it was before, and eventually will come right back out of it. So even if you had hard frost damage, this plant will actually revitalize itself through these canes coming up from the roots, and you'll actually redo your rose. So a much more forgiving plant over time, and actually better for your yard and for younger gardeners. Okay, so I have one other thing I want to talk about, and that's longevity of the plant. When you plant this rose in your yard, there's kind of 3 stages that a lot of gardeners say. The first year, your plant sleeps, meaning that it doesn't really grow a lot, although our plants will double in size that first year. But what they're really doing is growing underground, and those roots are moving out and establishing. The second year it creeps, meaning that you're going to get more growth and it's really going to get established. You're going to see more basal breaks and the plant is starting to mature. But in that third year, especially in climbers, it's going to leap. Meaning that third year, that third growing season, you're going to get a lot of growth. And these grafted plants and this OwnRoot plant will be of equal sizes, although this will be much healthier with many more breaks. So I hope that helps understand between grafted and OwnRoot roses. For more information on growing roses and to find OwnRoot roses for your garden, visit us at heirloomroses.com.